Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Paranormal Question of the Day. We'll be right back right after a short message.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Paranormal Question of the Day. We do live podcasts with live guests, live paranormal investigations as well. We do product reviews, so sit back, enjoy the channel, get popcorn, get a soda, and I'll see you soon.
Nice.
And we are back. So, welcome to the show, everybody. For those of you who are listening in the background, or for those of you that will get in chat, it'll be nice. Please like, subscribe, and share this out. I greatly appreciate it. And tonight, we have Miss Tracey Lynn with us tonight. How you doing, Tracey?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Tracey, if you don't know where she's from, she's on Channel 12 Las Vegas network. Is that correct? Okay.
Channel 12 TV network, we have to say,
Okay.
for copyright stuff. So Channel 12 TV network. Yes.
All right.
Close enough.
Oh, yeah. And they got a lot of stuff on there. So if you want to find out about Channel 12 TV network, there is a app you can get, and you can purchase that for streaming services. Now I don't know how much that is. Is that still $9.99 or is it $4.99?
It's still $9.99. It comes with a bunch of goodies and stuff, which they're always changing, so I don't name them. It's you would just go on to Channel 12 TV Network Las Vegas .nowcast NOWCAST.cc, and you can watch one show for $4.99. You can watch a month for $9.99, and then I think we just added a 8 or 6 month period and a full year, whatever. But it's cancel anytime. There's no contracts, no loopholes, none of the nonsense. So, and I love it because I love Looney Tune cartoons, and we just got them. So I
Wow.
like the old ones, not the new stuff. I don't like the new stuff, but
I like the old
old.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot on there.
Yeah,
Well,
and
thank
you
you.
can catch Rockin' Randy, and he is the main promoter of that TV network, correct?
Yes, he is.
Absolutely. Randy Stewart, by the way, real name. Um,
Mhm.
so let's get into the nitty gritty stuff. Why we're here,
Okay.
the paranormal stuff, the psychic mediumship stuff.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know who Tracey is, you want to let the people know who you are and how you kind of got into this field of psychic mediumship.
Okay. Well, you know where I work now.
Yeah.
How I got into it, I was born into it. In my family, on the mother's side, every third generation female is born with what's called the veil, and it's a thin, downy fur, not even quite a fur, but like on a Sphinx cat. It's there, you can feel it. They have like a really soft downiness to them. I was born that way. And fortunately, my mother loved and adored her grandmother. So she knew exactly who and what she had given birth to. And I started out as soon as I could stand up in the crib, I'd point to things. And as soon as I could talk, I would mention relatives that had long since passed. And she was cool with it, which is a blessing because I have mentored so many people who, their family, because of maybe just that's how the family views things or religious reasons or, 1,000 other reasons. They're all told it's not real. It's in your head. Stop being, so I was fortunate. She just let it sort of develop on its own. So I've always had it.
Well, and that's a good gift to kind of get started into the field.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was your very first paranormal experience, or I should say, paranormal event that happened to you?
Oh, the first one, I was about 4 years old and we lived in this, what I found out years later, it used to be a morgue, a funeral home that was renovated into a regular home. So that's clearly where you want to put me. And I would see people walking around all the time. And I used to drive my dad crazy because I would say, "Who's that? Who's that?" And he knew by that time all right, just let her do her thing. I think that the craziest experience I ever had was actually when I was approximately 15, 16 years old. We lived in a historic place in Maryland called Glendon, Maryland, in a very, very, very old house. When I was 5, and I'm going to be 60, so do the math. Um, it was already 200 plus years old. And in the back, where they would have had the carriage house, my family renovated it into sort of a playroom, pool table, poker table, that sort of thing. And part
Mm-hmm.
of the chore was to go down there once a week, whether it needed it or not, and vacuum the thing. So bright sunny afternoon, I get the vacuum cleaner, I'm dragging it down behind the house, and I go to unlock the door because we always kept it locked and didn't want any kind of shenanigans. I open it up and it's floor to ceiling cobwebs, thick cobwebs, like Hollywood stereotypical. And I look up, and from the ceiling, I don't know if it was a spider, an octopus, I don't know what the thing was, but it was black and it turned and it had red eyes. Now, mind you, this is all happening within a matter of seconds. It sounds like a long time. It wasn't. It was enough
Mm-hmm.
to open it up to see it and then be my teenage self, close the door and think, did I see that? Is that real? Can this? No, I can't. And I opened it up and everything was fine. Now, crone me has always been curious. What would have happened if I put a foot in there?
Mm-hmm.
Really, I was not meant to put a foot in, but I've the curiosity, that
Yeah.
was to me. So that was probably my biggest one.
And I imagine, with you being a psychic medium and stuff, or would you rather be called medium?
Medium's fine. Psychic, honestly, that reminds me of the neon palm and the window. So medium sensitive, that's fine.
Okay. I imagine when you see stuff like this, like me, I probably wouldn't see it anyway because I'm not really that sensitive to see things. But for you, in your world, a second is like a minute or two for you, isn't it?
Oh
Is it
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's slows everything down? It's not as
It's
fast as it is for us. Like shadow people move very fast. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Like think of the movie The Matrix. When
okay,
they would slow stuff down, that's kind of how things look to me.
okay,
And sometimes I see spirit in third eye, sometimes I see them as see-through, sometimes just as solid as you. It just depends on the spirit, the circumstances, and what's going around. So
okay. I could use a third eye because this one don't work.
we all have a third eye. You can work on that.
I would want to move it down here though. But so seeing people, at that age? Were you able to turn it on or off? Because there's people that say that they can just turn it on and off. And then I've also heard a thing where being a child, okay, and you go to your teenage years, right? You kind of lose that effect of seeing people. Now, for those beyond the age of 13, either you still have it or you don't. What is your take on that?
uh People have asked me before, weren't you scared? Every, when you were a little girl and you're seeing these things. Well, no, because it's all I've ever known. They've
Mm-hmm.
always been there. So to me, it's commonplace. Somebody who's never seen a spirit and suddenly sees one, it's going to flip out like they do on TV.
Right.
Um, for me, when I went into my teen years, I went through what I call a testing period for about 3 days. And three for witches and mediums is always a very, very important number. Everything is in threes, your morning, noon, and night, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, yes, so on and so
Right.
on and so on. So 3 days, I kept hearing in my mind, pray to me, pray to me, pray to me. I mean, just, and it wasn't my head, it was some deep, growly, stereotypical sounding voice in my head, just trying to wear me down. And on the third day, I just went out in the backyard and said, I will never pray to you. I only have one God, and that's it. Go away. And it stopped immediately. So I've been told since then that was your testing period. Some go through it, some don't. And I
Mm-hmm.
could have either, been a good witch or a bad witch. So I turned out to be a good witch. So
Yeah.
some people do lose it. or they do want to turn it off, like you said.
Hmm.
I can, at this stage in my life, turn it on and off. I'm also empathic, so that tends to be a little bit overwhelming unless you can, over the years, figure out how to control it. My son's empathic too, and when I told him, he goes, "Well, thanks, Mom. I always wondered why I kept feeling everything from everybody all the time." That I can turn off much easier than I can seeing people. But
Yeah.
I generally just say if I'm going to go someplace new for the first time, I'm just out to dinner with my husband. That's it. I don't need anybody coming around. You have to set your boundaries.
True. True.
Sometimes it works, sometimes not.
Well, and imagine it could be a scary time sometimes. It's like all of a sudden you're turning your head pretty fast, and your husband's like, "Oh shit, here we go again." Like,
Yeah. Oh,
you
he
know,
sees people. He's seen out of the corner of his eye, he sees shadow people every now and then. I've had to cleanse him once or twice, and I said, well, everybody's born with it.
right?
Everybody.
Yep.
It depends on your particular circumstances as to whether or not it gets developed or not. And if you haven't, then there might be a very good reason that it
Right.
hasn't developed in you. But he's seen him at work. He's seen a couple. Our house is always active because my son's very sensitive too. So we're like a battery feeding off of one another. And my late father-in-law is always here. My dad pops in and out. And in fact, there were a couple of times where his late father was here so often. I was like, "Can you just go talk to your dad? I need to get such and such done. I can't do it when he keeps looking at me because I would do and
Hmm.
there's Skip standing there proud as punch. It's like it can interfere. It can
Yeah,
absolutely interfere.
I could see that. This is my co-host right here. He's listening and watching a little bit of the show
Anyway,
while he tries to get a little bit better here. So, thanks for tuning in, Wayne. So there's other things too. Me for more, I'm more like numerology. Okay,
hmm hmm
that's my kind of thing where I kind of fall in line with. Not to mention where you're just sitting there watching TV and all of a sudden it's like you start thinking about somebody. Like they pop in
hmm
your head and they're like,
hmm
okay, something must have happened. Either a text or a call. You know.
hmm
So sometimes I don't like that when that happens when I'm trying to watch TV or something.
hmm
So, you know, those are some things that I kind of get, you know.
Right, right.
So, and it doesn't freak me out. It's just like it starts making me wonder a little bit.
It also depends on how close you are to the person.
Right.
Basically, the closer, and it makes sense if you think about it, the closer you are, the more in tune you are to each other.
Hmm.
Whether it's family by blood or family by friendship or whatever. And if something happens, there's a very good chance that what will happen is exactly what happens to you. You get the
Right.
feeling. I've had a couple of times where I've had to call the family and say, so and so, okay. How did
Right.
you know? I said, don't even ask.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it too before. It's just like you get a certain feeling, and it's just like, how do you go about it? You know?
Can it be learned? That's it's kind of a tricky question because I don't want to sound condescending. Okay.
Hmm.
But you're either born with it or you're not. You either have it or you don't. There are plenty of ads out there. Learn how to be a psychic medium. Learn how to be a this. Learn how to be a shaman. You're either born that way or you're not. You
Right.
can't go into it. Just one. Susie wakes up one day and goes, "Oh, I want to be this, that, and the other." And all of a
Hmm.
sudden, she gets a book and a bundle of sage and calls herself all these different things. If you have a kernel left in there, then it can be enhanced. It can be brought out. But to teach somebody that has absolutely nothing in left in that, no, you can't do that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I mean, he is now Wayne is sensitive. So when we go to
okay.
locations and stuff, he really intensifies, and I can see him getting freaked out a little bit, but he's very sensitive to certain things. Uh, John
Then
can be
in this
as well.
case, he can absolutely develop his. You have to have something. It's like anything else. You have to have some kind of foundation, even if it's just a little crumb,
Hmm.
and then you can build upon it. But don't ever be scared. They're not going to hurt you. It's not like Hollywood.
Yeah. But the thing is, they come in all different shapes and sizes. They can show themselves as something else different, where
Hmm.
we think we're talking to an adult, but it appears to us as a kid. So they can
Right.
be misleading to lead us somewhere where we shouldn't be going.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That happens a lot with mimics or low level demons or something like that.
Right.
Once you cross, our belief is, I should say, not our, my belief is you can present any way you want. Maybe your grandmother is presenting herself as she was when she was a little girl because that was her happy time.
Hmm.
It really depends. So, but when you see like little girls, at asylums and things like that, they generally that's something trying to make you think it's this sweet, innocent little girl when it's really something quite negative.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm trying to
that's
think
you
of
know,
those things. Yeah,
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 it,
you've definitely got a foundation way.
yeah, and that's what I kind of feared too, because just the way how I mean, I've been on numerous investigations with him, and I can tell
Hmm.
it's different for him, very very different. So, hey, Laura, how you doing? Oh, you're
Hi,
heading to
Laura.
work. Well, have a good night at work, Laura. Thanks for tuning in.
Wayne, I would
Uh,
say look into like Tai Chi and meditating,
mm-hmm.
something you can get everything centered and focused.
Right.
Um, Keep a diary next to your bed. Anything that seems strange during the course of the day or night, or
Mm-hmm.
dream journal, something like that. All these things can help you.
Right. Makes sense. Um, sorry. Um,
Okay.
but okay. So, do you teach um classes for someone
No,
if case if they want to try and get into this a little bit more deeper? How do you go about with your classes, and what do you do? Like, where do you start, and then kind of what's your finish off? Like, do you have like so many months, so many weeks, or is it just one of those things you
mm,
just keep adding on as years go?
I personally don't do classes.
Okay.
I help and mentor, but I don't do a class per se. If somebody has questions about the paranormal or questions about something that's going on, or they need to talk to somebody, then they can come to me. But I don't do a formal class
Okay.
because
Uh,
everybody's different, and it would be almost impossible. My theory is to have a class per se that's going to encompass everybody because we're all so different. I
mhm.
need to talk to the person and get to know them a little bit better and find out, what the pros and the cons, just all that. You get to have to know each person, to a certain degree rather than a bunch of strangers, either through Zoom or something like that. Now, if another witch or medium does that and it works for them, more power to you. It's just not something that I've done
I
or
can
do.
imagine that a room would be very confusing for you because if you
It
have a
used to
group of
be.
5 people, if you have a group of 5 people, it's like, okay, you know what they're feeling, you know what they're feeling.
Hmm.
And it's like it all can intermix like you're
Oh yeah.
crossing the streams, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
And that's another reason why I don't do classes because it can be, let me put it this way. My husband and I went down to Arlington National Cemetery,
mhm,
and I felt like I was in the middle of the Super Bowl, and everybody around me was talking. It was incredibly draining. And it
mhm,
took me a couple of days to just get the funk off, from all the different feelings and emotions. So that's how I learned quickly to put a lid on it. I also don't let um, anybody show themselves in a death state if they're icky and gory. I had
mhm.
that once with a woman here in Maryland who went missing, and I found out that she was drowned in a particular area by her husband. And that's about all I can say because it's always going to be an ongoing case
Right.
because the husband's gone, she's gone, there's no more evidence, but it's still considered ongoing. So I can't say anything. But she showed me herself as a drowned victim that had been there for, I was like, no, 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 no. You can show me yourself however you want to present, but not in your death state. And you're absolutely right. You don't ever let them feel like you're intimidated because once they get that, like kids, once they find that little spot that they can kind of wiggle in there and start tormenting you, then they will.
Right. Um. So you just mentioned that you help with cold cases, correct? Every
I
once in a while.
have.
Okay.
I have.
So what's the process about that? I mean, now for those that are interested for cold case side of things, how does
Mhm.
that start out? Is it like kind of like you get a feel, or is it or the police call you and say, "Hey, can you come in and help us a little bit, and then we can kind of give you as much as we can," or do you go into it's like you don't want to know nothing about it, and then just lead you to where you think things are going on?
I generally don't want to know anything because then it makes the person wonder, makes me wonder, well, did I really feel and sense that? Or am I making up in my mind because I've read such and such? Um, the area where the person was last seen is always a good start for me. Go there and just feel what's there, try to see what was there. I have a friend who contacts me when the occasion rises, and I'll help him out as best I can. So it's still kind of a taboo thing
Hmm.
in that particular area of work. So mine is kind of off the radar.
Well, I mean, it's like we watch the Conjuring movies, right?
Right.
And then we see Lorraine Warren and how she goes about what she was doing the cold cases. I believe that was the Conjuring 3 where they were doing cold cases.
Yeah.
Um, is it similar to like that? How that goes? The way how Hollywood is portraying that, or is it a whole different kind of
It,
aspect of it?
I, again, it comes down to each person. The Conjuring movies were made to be over the top
Right.
because obviously you want to, keep the audience excited and everything.
Right.
Um, as far as how she's portrayed doing it, I had the pleasure of talking to her once, many, 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 many years ago before
Mm-hmm.
she passed. And sweet woman, just sounds, she reminded me of Mrs. Doubtfire, just the sweetest thing in the world. That's how she came. She was just very loving, open, and natural, and absolutely phenomenal lady. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
But again, it all comes back to everybody has to see things in their own way. And I always tell people, look, if I'm sitting here with you and I feel something, I'll tell you, hey, guess what? ABC. But I also tell you, don't live your life by it because circumstances can change our life path at any
Right.
moment. This is what I see right now. If nothing changes, that's kind of how I feel it's going to go.
Right.
So because anybody that says, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm always 100% accurate," or it's this that, no, they're not being forthright with you. They're not being honest.
Right. We always say to run if you know exactly what's going on. And now, talk about Lorraine Warren and stuff. There's, I always get a little upset about this because he's gone, she's gone. People are
Mhm.
talking bad about him. Okay,
Yeah, that's not right.
and I don't like that because it's like, okay, now you're talking bad about them because they're gone and they can't defend themselves, right?
Right.
So where do you lie with them, and how psychic do you feel that she actually was compared to what people are trying to say? Oh, this is just a hoax. It's a money making scheme. All this and that.
I truly believe that she was gifted. I mean, the movies, like I said, they put everything up over the top, so
Hmm.
maybe that's why people form an opinion that they need not, have up there. But there's always going to be somebody who doesn't believe you. Always.
Right.
I went to a place here in Laurel, Maryland called Laurel's House of Horrors with Ghost Hunter Jake, and we filmed through. And I just did my thing. What popped in there is what I told him. And there was some person on there that says, "Oh, she's a total fraud. There's no way she could look all this information up," and so on and so on and so on. And we also had a woman there who works there who did an Estes session,
Hmm.
which was brilliant and over the top. I mean, the best one I've ever seen her do. And people down, oh, it's all made up, it's staged. So there's always going to be a portion of society. It's like, yeah, no, it's not because it hasn't happened to them. Once it
Right,
happens to
exactly.
them, then they're completely different perspective, and that's okay too. But hating on people who aren't here to defend themselves now, my thing is, why weren't you saying this when they were alive?
Exactly.
If you were so sure about it, if you knew, I just know that they're this, that, and the other. Why didn't you say something when they were here with us? Because it's not true. My
Yeah.
opinion.
And that's how I feel about it because it's like, the famous cases, the Amityville Horror, the Conjuring House, and all that stuff. You know, I today still feel that there is still something going on at the Amityville Horror House
Hmm.
because even though the family say there's nothing going on, but the thing is they're not going to say anything that's going on because they don't
Right,
want that attention drawn to them if there is something still going on. And
right.
not to mention, it's like the 13th or 14th family that's moved into that house since it's been built in
Hmm.
1927. So, I mean, if there were so many families through that house, then, it just blows my mind.
That's funny. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to walk through my childhood home. And like
Hmm.
I said, this house was 200 years plus Victorian when we moved in. And so my son got to walk through with me and my husband. And we're walking through, and there are crosses everywhere. So I made the mistake of saying to the lady, "Oh, they're still around, are they?" Well, went from you can have all the time in the world to, "Oh, we have to leave in 10 minutes." She got scared and like I, s- I thought, oh, you had to open up your big mouth. So, but generally, there was never any activity in that house that was negative, harmful.
Hmm.
There was intimidating, but there wasn't anything that was actually harmful.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's just how I feel. And it always draws me to it no matter what. It always will. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued by the house. I've known lots of information about the house that people don't even talk about.
Hmm.
So, um, so Wayne's got one question here. He
Okay.
wants to know about your spirit guides, and their views on them, and do people have them various reasons?
Sure. And you're right. Your father can definitely be a guide. Any family member can be a guide.
Hmm.
I grew up with one. He was always presented himself as like a Indian medicine man named White Feather. And the funny thing is, years and years and years later, when I'm in this group with Dave Bruce and Marilyn, NPRT, there was a gentleman by the name of Jose who, when I talked about White Feather, he got pale because that's my spirit guide. I said, well, then he's taking care of both of us. So I
Hmm.
did a little Googling, and apparently he gets around. It's a name that's known, but I would always ask him, if I was going through a hard time, just let me know you're there. Let me know you're listening. And I had this atrocious job one year, and it just wasn't for me, and I wasn't for it. And I went to get in my car in the parking garage, and it's just a still day. There's no wind, there's no nothing, and I'm parked in the middle. And laying on the hood of my car, no lie, is a white feather this long. It's like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So he was always there for me growing up to kind of steer me away. I would hear a little message like, don't do it, don't do it,
Hmm.
or go this way, go that way. But yeah, you can definitely have them for various reasons. Some people have a lot. I have my goddess, and I have my spirit guide, which is White Feather, and then I have family that pops in and out all the time. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
I got
there's
about.
there's no there's no standard as to how many you have or you can have. I know
Right.
people who talk about 30 and 40. I was like, it's too many names for me to remember.
Yeah, I got about four last time I
Okay,
remember. Uh,
okay.
so now with the spirit guides, can they change very often, or one stay with you your whole life? Or can you,
Again, it
or I should say, how can one be added to your arsenal, so to speak?
okay. You'll have the same spirit guide as long as that spirit guide feels he or she or it or whatever
Hmm.
um that they're needed in your life. Sometimes it's just to get you through a certain time period. Others like mine's been lifelong. So apparently he's still got work to do because he's still with me at this age.
Hmm.
How do you find out you have one? I was different in that I always heard his name, but there are ways to do it. You can, before you go to bed at night and get yourself nice and calm and centered and whatnot, just ask, who is my spirit guide? Just present yourself. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen the first night, but the more you ask, the better they are about revealing themselves. But they'll only reveal themselves when it's the right time for you. They're not going to show up for something that they're going to take care of 10 years from now.
Right. It's not like you can conjure them up. I mean, we can conjure things up,
Sure, sure.
um, but not the
Good
spirit
and bad.
guides.
Yeah, good and bad.
So, um, speaking of conjuring, have you ever conjured anything up?
Nothing negative, I don't think. Um,
Just to help the location, maybe?
um, that's a tough one because you can answer it so many different ways.
Hmm.
Um, I like to go into sort of a trance-like state, and the best one I had was the lady who went missing in Maryland. I knew she was drowned because when I snapped to, I was covered in what felt like and smelled like seawater, like lake water,
Hmm.
and there was no reason for it. I wasn't in menopause, wasn't any hot day or anything like that. So yeah, to that degree, yeah, I have conjured. It helped me locate her. I've had others where, I'm just asking spirit to help me find this, that, or the other, and inevitably, it might not be like I want to see a green glass. Well, here's a green glass or whatever I'm supposed to see, it will eventually come to pass. But the biggest one was the missing person
Hmm.
from our state. Everything else, they just the more you ask, the more you receive. You always have to say thank you.
Right. That makes sense. Um, so houses. When you're driving out and about with your husband or yourself, whatever, do you ever like go past a house and then all of a sudden stop and back up and just sit there and look at it from afar, feel that
Yeah,
okay, there's something going on here. Should I, shouldn't I contact the family about this out of the blue, or you know,
oh, that's all the time. That's all the time, especially in the state that we're in. Being so close to Gettysburg and all that. There's always some mischief going on. And it doesn't have to be an old house. It can be a new house because it really depends on what happened on the land, more so
correct,
than what happened in the physical structure of the house. It will
right?
imprint into the land before it imprints and stays within, a certain house. That's why you hear like new apartment buildings and nobody wants to live in apartment 12 because stuff happens. Well, that's
Hmm.
because stuff's always been happening in that particular apartment. But yeah, I see them all the time. I've seen Indian tribes out in the fields. I've seen soldiers. We went to not Arlington. Oh, it's another one. Can't remember the name of it. Not Gettysburg, but there was another one. Anyway, I brought home a soldier, and I'm looking out my bay window, and there he is, walking back and forth. He just wanted to hang out. And I said, as long as you're going to be cool, you can stay for however long it is you want to stay. And he stayed for a couple of days. And um, I guess, after a while, everybody gets bored.
Yeah,
So he just came along for a trip.
uh, I agree with that. I mean, you're right. We all everybody does get bored every once in a while.
Well,
Um,
and you think, even though our feeling is that their time frame and our time frame are two massively different things. It's almost
right.
like time stops once you pass, and it's just a new realm.
Hmm.
So people have asked, well, why are spirits still there in castles and whatever? 2, 3, 4, 500 years, 1,000 years later, because there is no time on the other side. They're just they're there. 1,000 years for us could be a minute for them. We don't know, but that's generally why they linger and stay around.
Hmm. Has anything ever scared you before? A location, something you've seen, stuff like that. I mean, what is your thoughts on that, and what was it that terrified you?
I wouldn't say terrified because I always hear them say, you passed your test, we've got your back, basically. Not in that language, but that's the gist of it. There was a fort here called Fort Howard, and I had no clue. I was still learning, everything. And we went up to the attic, and I saw a shadow person go running back and forth up in this like crawl space. You had to get a ladder and get up in it. And it scared me because there was one of our team members up there, and he got thrown. And I was like, I told you there was somebody up there, but you didn't want to listen. So I went and then I walked towards the back of that particular area, and I couldn't understand it for the life of me, but everything was bright, shiny, like pulsating red. All the red bricks, it was like somebody had a spotlight on them. And I was told that I got as stiff as a statue and was not talking to anybody, that they literally had to pick me up and carry me off. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, I see on one of these shows that when you see red like that, like through a red filter, it's usually a bad thing, usually a demonic thing. So that was probably, I mean, the thing that looked like a spider or an octopus, that was an elemental. That's no big deal. But that was at Fort Howard. That was a demonic and probably the highest level I've been around because it was able to affect me so much. So, but I always know that no matter like I channel a lot. When I went down to Laurel's House of Horrors, I channeled a serial killer down there by the name of Sam Little, and I think those videos are on YouTube. I know no matter how ignorant the spirit is, I'm always going to be fine. I'm always going to be safe. And now, since I've joined Channel 12, my husband goes with me. He's my cameraman, so he always and he always supported was supportive of what I done.
Hmm.
But I think that once he's seen it in person, and felt it in person, it's a whole new level. Now he's got his St. Michael medal on, he's got the this on and the that on. So
Well, it does change a person, that's for sure, once things start happening to you. So
it's
that is
understandable.
very, yeah, absolutely. It start changing your mind and your perspective and how you look at things.
Exactly.
Um, so, um, so let's get into the shows. Okay,
Okay.
so we got so many shows out there nowadays with psychic mediums, whatnot. Haunted from New England, the UK. What is your take on the difference between you, real life
Mhm.
shows, and how they work that all out with their psychic mediums?
There aren't too many that I fully believe in. However, Chris Fleming is one whose reputation is impeccable. And I would believe if that man told me the sky was green and the grass was blue, I believe him because he's just has that much integrity about him.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lady who took over for the Dead Files after a while. I can't remember her name. Um, I'm about 80% believe in what she sees. Um, what again? How do I feel about the word demonic? Everybody sees a demon, and 99.99% of the times they're not demons. Just because you hear a scratch in your house or on the wall does not mean there's a demon. That's where, TV comes in,
Yeah,
like a haunting. Everything's demonic.
right.
Everything is, oh my God. And you look at some of the podcasts, and all these kids have got the same look. Oh my God, it was the scariest night of my life. A demon attacked us and we almost died. The chances of running into an actual mid to high level demon is very rare.
I say 2%.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it doesn't happen, but that doesn't sell shows and it doesn't sell movies. So
Right.
you've got to make it as theatrical and over the top and flamboyant as you
Ghost
can.
Adventures.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not afraid to
Yeah.
say it. Ghost Adventures.
So it's just at that moment, come up with some really great drinking games with them. Every time they say dude, every time they say,
Yeah, it's sometimes the shows are right now lately. I watch Project Fear because that's one of my favorite shows to watch.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, they're
uh,
good. They're
I like
good.
the kids. They're
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
show a lot of different viewpoints on investigating things. Now, however, not all of them were very good. Like, okay, let's turn out the flashlight and walk around without flashlights or without walkie-talkies. That I don't like because it's like you're putting yourself in danger.
Yeah.
If you don't know the location well enough, you can fall through a hole, you can walk into a
Sure.
wall, you could break something. I understand the challenge, right? But it's like,
Don't be
I
stupid
get
about it.
right. I understand you want to do this for TV, but use your head a little bit more. I mean, I like you. I like watching shows, but sometimes you gotta use that noggin.
I tell you,
Uh,
the one show that I just find absolutely hysterical is Ghost Brothers. They're
I
so
haven't watched it in a
funny.
while.
Oh, they're so, so funny. I don't know if what they've come across is real doctors, what I don't care.
Yeah,
They're just three of the nicest, seemingly nice guys. And they have such a cute personality about them. I could watch them all day,
yeah,
And I even back when Ghost Adventures was just brand new,
right,
it had a lot more authenticity to it than
yeah,
over the years because now Zach always gets possessed,
yeah,
and it's too much. It's too
right.
much.
You're talking about chip coffee. That's my wife's favorite one.
Ah, okay.
So he just battled back from a long time sickness too.
Okay. Okay.
Um, also Chris Fleming too. I heard sad news about him, and hopefully he is getting the help that he needs for that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to hear that Chip's doing better.
Yeah.
He used to
Um,
be on Paranormal State back in the day.
we did watch
Remember
that
that?
too. My wife
Yeah,
liked
yeah,
that too. So,
yeah.
hey, Yvette, how you doing? It's nice to see you in here. Ghost Brothers, yeah, they're hilarious. I've seen them once in a while. They got a new show on. It's by a new name though.
Okay.
Uh,
I know they had the one house guest, haunted house guest, and then there was some kind of fear thing or another that they did
yeah,
with Ozzy
Jack.
Osbourne's kid. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jack, thank you.
I can't stand him. I can't stand Jack.
Yeah,
That's one of the reasons I turn
all over
off
the top.
Portals to Hell.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
But
It's too much.
it is. But that's my take of it. I mean,
Yeah,
he's not a
yeah,
bad person. It's just I can't relate to him. Let's put it that
right,
way.
right.
So there's a lot of things about, and I've interviewed a bunch of people about this on uh what's it? How I want to put it? Demon Slayers.
Yeah.
What is your take on that? They see demons, hundreds of demons a day. They fight them all day long and whatever.
If
But
you're if you're calling yourself a demon slayer, in my opinion, you need to stop playing Dungeons and Dragons because you're into it for the wrong reason. And it's nothing to fool with. People who make these outlandish statements that I see tons of them every day, or,
hmm
I've always been able to get rid of demons. You don't know what kind of fire you're playing with because you might be doing it just to, be big, bad, and puffy,
right,
but the other side will hear you. And after a while, you take a chance on having somebody come in and teaching you a few things. So
right,
nah. And like seeing actual demons is a rarity, not like it is on TV.
yeah. Seer is another word I hear too.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the same thing I was trying to go after. I just said
Yeah.
Slayer, but Seer is
Okay.
another one. But I don't know. I have a hard time with with the Seers because it's like, how is it that you can maintain your daily life moving forward if you always feel like you're fighting hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
demonic demon stuff. I even hate using the word demon or demonic
Right.
because it's so overused,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's just like I don't know. I just have a hard time with that one.
Yeah. No,
And to put
I
in
totally
perspective.
agree. I mean, I like things to make sense. When I go into a house and they said that they had noises or light problems, I'll look for the most logical thing first before I even take in the feel of the house. Are they slobs? Do they have stuff everywhere? And maybe that's what the scratching is that they've heard. Maybe it's a little critter.
Hmm.
In fact, Dave got mad at me once during a house investigation. All it was these people, they made the show Hoarders look tame. I walked around and said, the only reason you're hearing is because of all this. He's like, can you go wait outside? I said, no, these people drive me nuts. It's always got to be something else's fault. It's never themselves. Like your house is a hot mess. Clean
Yeah.
it up, you'll be fine.
Yeah, my wife watches that too, and I'm like, nope, I can't watch this.
Oh, it's
Or
gross sometimes. It's really gross.
my 600-pound wife, I can't watch it.
Oh yeah. Ugh.
That drives me nuts too. And she says the same thing. It's like they're always blaming somebody else. It's never their fault
Yeah.
that they gained all this
Yeah.
weight, and then it's just like it make a
See,
big
my
story.
thing is, where are their friends and family? Because you didn't wake up one day 600, 700 pounds.
Right,
You know,
right.
if I have a loved one or a dear friend and I see them blowing up, I'm going to be as tactful as I can and say, what I need to say, because people know I don't have a filter to begin with. So they take me with more of a grain of salt than anything else. But yeah, where's the family at? Because
Yeah.
it's not something that happens overnight.
It's like, well, this happened to me, so this caused me to this, and this happened to me, and this caused me to do this. I was like, no,
It's a
you
good
can
excuse.
control, you can get help for what
Mhm.
has happened to you.
Yeah,
You just
learn
don't
from it.
resort to eating and
Yeah,
feeling pitiful about yourself. You know,
exactly.
I'm fat. I gotta lose 45 pounds. Maybe I'll feel better. But that's just one of those things. Anyway, um, so do you, being a psychic medium,
Mhm.
do you do like potions and spells and stuff like that? And if so, why do you still do them today? Um, and is it for a good purpose, or are they just
Always
there
a
just to say it,
purpose.
to do it?
Mm-mm. No, I'm a witch who is Wiccan. Witchcraft is just that, the craft. It's like hoodoo and voodoo. Hoodoo is a religion, voodoo is the craft.
Hmm.
Same thing with me. The mediumship actually has nothing to do with any of it. It's just something that I was given through hereditary means. But I can't say that I do a lot of them, but
Hmm.
when I know somebody's hurting with their permission, I'll put something together for them to help various areas of other people's lives if they've asked me and I have their permission. You can't do anything against someone's permission because it's not going to work,
Right.
except when you put them in the freezer because we're being a jackass. Other than that, oh, there's two people I haven't heard from in years. It's wonderful. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's only
That's a
for the
thought.
betterment.
That's a thought. I have to.
Freeze them out. Yeah. I never anything because my theory is if you do something negative, it's going to come back. It's going to rebound.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like I've had people go, well, can't you give me the numbers of the lottery? No. Can't you make him fall or her fall in love with me? No, you don't want that. And I speak from experience because I did cast once for someone who matched the bill, and it was one of the worst relationships I ever had because I
Hmm.
was taking away free will. So you live and you learn with this stuff. It's nothing to play with.
Right. Right. Wayne, take note. No, just kidding. Keep Abby away from the potions. I always have to drive her in there.
That's okay.
Um,
Okay.
so let's see where we are for time. Oh, we got a few minutes yet here. So let's talk about Channel 12
Okay.
TV network. How did you get started with that, and what it is all about?
Okay. From this NPRT group, I was flipping through Facebook one day, once upon a time, and I saw that Dave needed somebody to interview. And I had never done a podcast. I had never done a show. I had been interviewed on TV on occasion, but nothing like what he was looking for. So I said, look, you know me. If you want, I'm happy to fill in. And I filled in, and his co-host was Randy, and we just got to talking. And then Randy calls me the next day, and I think we talked for 5 or 6 hours on the phone because we're both chatterboxes. And he invited me to come on a panel that he had, and I was just fascinated by everybody.
Hmm.
So he became my producer, and I did a show Mondays and Wednesdays live, like you're doing, on Facebook. And now we've gone the route of a TV network, and it's been so much fun.
That's nice. What's all you can find on the network itself? What shows you can look for if there's certain criteria that people are into? What do you got?
Well, we have all the old classic sitcoms, the black and white ones, the early color ones. We have classic and current movies. We have every imaginable cartoon you could imagine, from Looney Tunes to Grape Ape to, just everything in between. We have a show that is faith-based. We have shows that are cryptid based. We have paranormal shows. We have a travel channel that the guy will tell you like different places to go and what you can find there and what you can do. We have a couple of political pages, pro and con, both sides. So I mean, then there's Randy's, who he likes to call himself a combination of Maury Povich and Jerry Springer. Anything goes, and I've seen some anything goes. So
Oh yeah.
it's and we're starting to do indie movies. We've
Okay.
got quite a few that are debuting their movies on our channel. Oh, and wrestling. How could I forget wrestling? He was a wrestler. Now we have wrestling too. So it's a little bit of everything.
Oh, so you hear that, Wayne? It's got wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan. So is Wayne. So is John. So is his wife Abby. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, we've talked to Rock and Randy for a while in a chat before
Yeah.
with all of us. So, yeah, he's a very interesting guy. Definitely want to give him a listen. If he is a little bit off the wall, I ain't gonna lie. He's a little bit off the wall. So,
Oh, absolutely. The best
if you,
people are.
yeah, I mean, if you feel like you'll get offended easily, then that's probably
No,
not the show for you then.
no.
So, but anyhow, what you got coming up, and what is your looking like so far for stuff?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm happy to say that I'm currently booked with shows through June. Um, so I'll be putting some feelers out in about a month. But if you feel that you would want to come on the show and talk with me, send me a message at paranormalwhitewitch@gmail.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page, which is Channel 12 TV Network, hit the message section. Love to have you on. Or if you know somebody who would make a good guest, more than happy to accommodate. We've done people from overseas, so we play with the times. It's not, thankfully, since it's not live anymore, we're not set to a strict time period. So we're more than happy to, you know, navigate around your schedule.
All right. Last question I have.
Okay.
What do you feel that has been your greatest achievement being a psychic medium in this point in time?
Wow. Um, there's so many things. I think the coolest one, and it's going to sound ridiculous, but I just found it to be the coolest thing ever. I used to give tours at the Jenny Wade House and the
Oh,
orphanage up in
okay.
Gettysburg. Okay. Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there, but I know about the location.
Did you know of them? Okay. Well, it wasn't so bad at the Jenny Wade house because, that was just more sad and stuff like that. But over at the orphanage, where Rosa Carmichael was the original headmistress, and I do feel that she had a demonic influence on her, not to throw the word around, but in this case, it fit. What I would do at the end of the night is get two guys who looked like they didn't want to be there, have them stand on either side of me and just, hold my arm. And I would say to her, do to me what you did to them. And there was this one time, I swear I had moldy, soapy sponge in my mouth. And, I was very close and that everybody else was very close. And I said, all right, that's enough. I get that. Now, what else do you think you can do to me? Well, all of a sudden, my two back legs lifted up and all three of us were pulled towards the back where she would put kids into what she called the dungeon. It was basically this little hole in the wall. That to me, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but that to me was the coolest thing in the world. Because they both looked
Wow.
at me and they said, "There's no way you could have done that." Like,
Hmm.
no, no.
That's a lot of
You know,
energy.
I the fun sentimental ones, or when I've told cousins, um, what sex of the baby they're going to have if they want to know, you know, things like that. And when I'm out and about, if I at family functions, if I see relatives, I always make sure to tell everybody, and it just seems to warm their heart. So,
Wow. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, we are at the top of the hour here. I thank you for coming on tonight's show. It was a lot
thank
of
you.
fun. I think we
Yeah.
touched on a lot of good topics. And for
Okay.
those that just want to learn about mediumship and psychic medium stuff and how it works and what you guys do to, move
Contact me
along.
anytime.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's a lot of fun, interesting to know stuff like that. At first, when I first got into this stuff,
Hmm.
I was afraid of witches.
Oh, yeah. Because
I
we're all
was.
being portrayed as these evil things. And, Randy's family, even when he first told them, I've got the paranormal white witch on my podcast lineup. Oh, no, she's a witch. She's bad. No, not all of us are.
Yeah.
You have a ton of good Christians, and then you have some that are not so nice, but
Hmm.
they still call themselves a Christian. It's the same thing with us. I couldn't. I am forbidden to cause harm to anybody or to hate anybody. I can hate their ways and their actions,
Hmm.
but I don't do that because it's something that could get out of hand really quick. And trust me, I've been tested quite a few times.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just something that it's better to walk away from those areas.
Right. I get that. I get that. All
Oh, it was
right.
nice meeting you too, Wayne.
Next time he'll be on. We bring
Okay.
it back on again.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Like I said, find her on Channel 12 TV Network, Las Vegas. What is it again? Sorry.
You can find us. You can either go to the Play Store app and look for Channel 12. It's a red background with black and white lettering that says Channel 12 inside like a bullseye. The easiest thing to do is to type in your search engine Channel 12 TV Network Las Vegas dot nowcast NOWCAST dot CC. It'll pop right up. You choose whatever you want. And like I said, you don't have to sign a contract. There's no penalties. There's none of that nonsense. So we're a
All
lot of
right.
fun. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Remember, if you do not have Facebook, you could join us on YouTube. But on Facebook, we're on Paranormal Brew, BBTV Network. On YouTube, we're on BB3 TV Network there, and MGS Paranormal 4258. So a like, share, subscribe, comments, it's all appreciated. Yeah, so that's Tracy, and I'm Darren. It's been a Tuesday edition of the Paranormal Question of the Day, and I bid you all adieu.
Good night.
Try to spit that all out. And we'll see you next week. So long, everybody.